Yo, what is up guys? Blake here bringing you a special video today talking about the 5 new spells that have been teased by King Sal. So all of this information, all these spells are from Ratbeard's stream. He's one of the main developers and he focuses mostly on PvP. Really good stuff on his stream. He answers a ton of questions too. I'll leave the link down in the description below if you guys want to check that out. But real quick, before we get into the spells, I just want to say that these are unrelated to Lemuria. A lot of people have been speculating that these are the Lemuria spells. That is not true. These spells are designed mostly, if not entirely, for PvP, and they're unrelated to Lemuria. Just letting you guys know before we get into that, because I have seen some confusion with some people saying that it is. So yeah, let's just get straight into it with the first spell. Now this one looks really cracked. I'm gonna be honest. 3 pips, Betrayal. It converts up to 3. That's what this means. Shields on your enemy, 2 traps. So imagine in a PvP case, you got some blades up as a myth and you go for like a mythic fuel and your opponent tries to go for a spirit shield because they don't want you to mystic them and they don't want King Art to just pierce the shield off right away, right? Spirit shield would be a good move. A myth could use this spell to completely remove the spirit shield and add in more traps, which I assume would stack, which is incredibly powerful. It really prevents shielding. It's like a built-in shatter almost, except instead of just shattering the shield, you also get a trap out of it. So it looks really nuts. Face value, when you're just looking at this, trust me, when I first saw this, I was like, holy, what are they doing? This is broken. But now take a look at the next spell, which is Tranquility. And what this one does is that it converts up to 3 negative wards on yourself, and this would basically just be traps to heal overtime. So let's say a myth is now facing a life, and the life goes for a spirit shield, and the myth is like, alright, I'm gonna use Betrayal. Remove that spirit shield and get 3 traps on them, which sounds like a great play, right? The life could use Tranquility to counter that and then remove those traps that the myth just placed and get heal overtime. Now the value of the heal overtime I think is based off of the value of the trap. So the bigger the trap, the more traps, up to 3, the longer the duration of the heal overtime and the better the value. So this card is basically a direct counter to Betrayal, which is quite interesting. And then you have another card that they teased, which is called Contagion. And what this one does is that it converts 3 overtime heals on your opponents or on your enemy to negative charms on your enemy. And I believe what this means is that it's going to be a standard infection. It's not going to be a weakness or a V-plague. It's to counter this one, which is the life spell. So it's going to be a standard -50 infection. So let's say that for some reason the life has 3 overtime heals because the death was trap stacking or something. Let's just say that they use this spell and now the life has 3 OTs on them that heal them. The death could use this spell, which would convert those 3 heals to 3 infections, which would completely change the tempo from them being healed up to now not having the heals and being debuffed for the next 3 heals, which is really, really powerful. So as you can see, these spells all go hand in hand, and it ties into this diagram that Ratbeard also showed on his stream. So this diagram right here is kind of just another way of looking at it. So as I showed you earlier, this spell, Contagion, is basically a direct counter to Tranquility. As you can see in this diagram, there's an arrow pointing from death to life, and the same works for the life to the mid spell as well. The life spell Tranquility completely counters the spell Betrayal, and it's really showed well in this picture. So it's very interesting that he showed this on the stream. I'm not really quite sure what to think about it, but when you look at just these spells isolated, it's very interesting to see that they really go hand in hand, and I'm really curious to see if they're going to add more spells in the future for the elemental schools, or if they're going to do something for balance. So we just have to stay tuned and see what's up. I've heard some people theorize different things, like the Stormwood would convert shields into blades or something like that, or it would convert blades into debuffs, and then the Firewood would convert like traps into an overtime or something, and the Ice would convert blades into shields. A lot of people have theorized that there are going to be more spells like this coming out in the near future, and Ratbeard has leaked one every day on his stream, so it's not out of the question to think that there could be more spells coming. Now there are 2 additional spells that Death has gone as well, and one of them is Putrefaction. So this one was teased by Thomas on his YouTube channel, and basically what it does is that it converts up to 3 blades on your enemy into 3 negative buffs. And I believe that these are also infections, but they could be standard weaknesses. Honestly, I'm not quite sure exactly how this one works, so I'm going to link down Thomas's video in the description down below if you want to check that out. But this could be very strong to counter blade stacking. Imagine, somebody trying to go for like a storm, which normally claps death. Imagine they're trying to blade stack Shadow the Death. The Death could use Putrefaction to now not only take away those bleeds, so basically a built-in enfeeble, but on top of that, convert convert those into debuffs, which completely changes the momentum. As you've noticed a pattern with these cards are all utility, and they seem to really shift the momentum of a match, and they're typically matchup specific, which is very interesting. And the last but not least one, and this is the one that Ratbeard just teased today on his stream literally a couple hours ago, is called Oni's Morbidity, and it converts 3 healing overtimes to shields on yourself. So let's say again the life wanted to use this spell, which would convert traps to a heal overtime. The death could use this spell or this one. Either one they could choose, because they both convert heal overtimes to either infections or to shields, which is really quite powerful. So another interesting thing about this one is that these ones have names like Putrefaction, Contagion, Tranquility, kind of general names, and this one's Oni's Morbidity, which is very interesting. Not sure what that means, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. So those were the 5 spells that have been leaked and have been teased on Ratbeard's stream. It's interesting to see that Death has 3 spells, whereas Myth and Life have 1, so it's very possible that there's more spells coming. So now that we've gone over all the spells, I kind of just want to give my quick opinion on it. Honestly, I think this is fantastic. Now hear me out if you guys are skeptical about some of these spells. This is the first time in a really long time, some people have said since Avalon basically, that they're adding school specific utility, which is amazing because people in the PvP community have been asking for more utility for a long time. It spices up the game, it makes it more balanced and a lot more fun when it's done correctly, and these spells really have potential for that. I know a lot of people are saying this one especially is broken because if you think about the current meta, being able to convert shields into traps, it's like a shatter on steroids basically, which is absolutely nuts. But like I said, there are things that counter it, right? For example, you couldn't do this to a life because the life could use tranquility. So it's very interesting to see kind of how these spells go hand in hand, especially with this Rochambeau picture, and I'm excited to see if they release more spells and kind of how that comes into effect. Overwhelmingly though, I think that these are really good changes to the game. It's definitely going to impact the meta heavily, and I honestly have no idea how that's going to happen or how it's going to work or how players are going to react and play differently, but I think it's going to be really exciting to see. But I'd love to hear you guys' opinions in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about each of these 5 spells and the Rochambeau wheel, and if you guys have any predictions of what's coming, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. The last thing that I kind of wanted to talk about is this diagram, which I really think is a good representation and kind of explains how these cards work. But one thing to think about is that just because, for example, Death is pointing towards life and Death has, you know, Putrefaction and some of these other ones too counter life directly, I don't think that means that just, oh, if a Death goes against a life, the Death is going to auto win the game. Because obviously, Wiz and PvP is much more complex than just a game of rock, paper, scissors or Rochambeau. So yeah, that's going to be it for today's video. I just wanted to quickly go over these 5 new spells. If there are more that are going to be released in the future, which is definitely possible, as we haven't seen any new elemental spells or balance spells, I'll definitely make videos about it so you guys can stay updated. Again, Ratbeard's Twitch is in the link in the description down below if you guys want to check that out and watch the streams. He does it every morning and he's always there to answer questions and stuff, and he might end up teasing more spells. So yeah, this diagram is really interesting too. I definitely have to think about this more. I don't know entirely what to think of it all and how it's going to affect the meta and how people are going to adjust to it or how they're going to pack in their deck, but I think it's really cool, and like I said, this is the first time that we're getting utility in a really long time. So I think that players should be really happy about this, and I'm stoked to see how it affects the game. So yeah, thank you guys for watching so much. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. As always, peace out, guys.